to tighten up.
The Titans season is over. And I got to be honest with you. Folks. I think this is the worst season I've ever sat through as a fan. I think this is the worst. I mean, you got to think. I understand we had some bad years with the Whisenhunt years. We had the whatever else, those years. You remember those years. But this, to me, when you consider what the expectations were, and I'm still not going to apologize for how high my expectations were in the summer. I mean, listen. Was I unrealistic? I don't think so. I had the ceiling for this team was 9-8. It's not like I was just sitting here going, oh, Super Bowl. No, I just thought, I had hope Will Levis would be good. I had hope that these additions to the roster would pay off. I had hope. I'm not going to apologize for that. Because I think if any other team, any other fan base, if your team had an offseason like the Titans did, I think you would have been hopeful and excited too. So I'm not going to apologize for being hopeful back during the summer. But that hope that we had and those expectations with the new head coach and everything, I think that's why this season will go down as the worst. Just gut punch after gut punch. I mean, think about it, guys. We started the season with the flick 6 against the Bears. I mean, you really can't start much worse than the Titans started the season with giving that game away in Chicago. I mean, that's just awful. Then you go against the Jets the next week, and the same thing happens. You give it away. Your quarterback does something stupid. Then Malik Willis, the guy you got rid of, comes in here and torches you in week 3. Then you go get destroyed by the Bills. Then you go get destroyed by the Lions. You get swept by Indianapolis. You get swept by Jacksonville. Got whooped by the Chargers. Destroyed by the Commanders. The Levis experiment failed miserably. No reason for optimism when it comes to Brian Callahan, and I even understand if you're a little bit skeptical of Rand Carthon. I get if you're skeptical of Amy Adams-Strunk. It's been awful. This has been awful. 8 games this season lost by more than one possession. In an NFL that is really designed for every game to be within a possession, somehow the Titans managed to lose 8 games by more than one possession. The stadium is 3/4 of the way empty. We are at rock bottom. There is one positive, and that is that we have secured the number 1 pick in the 2025 NFL draft. We're number 1 in the draft. I don't want to draft Cam Ward and then come in and the team suck and then Callahan gets fired and then here we go with Cam Ward having to already learn a new offense in year 2 because we went ahead and fired Brian Callahan 6 games into Cam Ward's rookie year. I don't want to do that like we did with Marcus Mariota, like we did with Will. I just don't want to do that. That's why I lean more toward if you're going to fire one, fire everybody, and let's bring all the new people in together. Not one at a time. Bring them all in. Indianapolis Colts fans are not happy today. Nor should they be, because they're keeping Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. They already announced it last night. Okay, they are absolutely losing their minds in Indianapolis, and they went 8-9, right? Finished with a much better record than us, and their fan base is about to burn Lucas Oil Stadium to the ground, okay? The Jacksonville Jaguars, who were that much better than us, they went 4-13. and announced that they're keeping Trent Baalke, the GM, who is the main source of their issues. He's like the number one guy to blame. They're letting Doug Peterson go, but they're keeping him. So Jaguars fans are in a complete uproar today. And once Houston gets obliterated by the Chargers in the playoffs, like I think they will, Houston fans ain't going to be happy either. They won the division by default. All right? So I say all of that to say, there are a lot of organizations who are in shambles today. Not like the Titans are bad and everybody else is so much better. No, there's a lot wrong with a lot of teams. Look at the records of the teams in the top 11 to 12. A bunch of 3-14s, a bunch of 4-13s. There are a lot of terrible teams in the league, okay? So, we're at the bottom, but we're at the bottom with a lot of teams. And it's interesting because last week I saw some comments that were made by Tiki Barber. You remember Tiki Barber? Running back for the Giants once upon a time. Great running back. He made some comments on a podcast or some sports show because a lot of Giants fans were mad that they beat the Colts last week and gave up their number one spot in the draft. And Tiki Barber just said, listen, you can get mad about wanting a quarterback all you want. But he said if you don't have the roster around them, then there's no point in taking a quarterback. You don't want to draft a quarterback and bring them into a bad situation where they have no chance to succeed. If your organization is not ready for a quarterback, you shouldn't draft a quarterback until you have enough talent. Okay, I get where he's coming from, and far be it from me to try to go against a guy like Tiki Barber who has played the game at such a high level. But I'll just say it gets complex for me because if you're the Titans, if you're the Browns, if you're the Giants, you're at the top of the draft, you need a quarterback. You're telling me you should pass on that? Like, I get where he's coming from, but also how many organizations in this league right now are in a good position to take a quarterback? Like, how many? The Giants are terrible. The Browns, awful. The Titans, awful. Jets, awful. Saints, awful. Panthers, actually a little better than awful, but still they were 4-13 or whatever. The Bears, terrible. I mean, there's so many bad teams. Even teams like the Dolphins, who were like a win away from making the playoffs, they're in shambles today. Tyreek Hill's leaving. If you are not like one of 6 or 7 organizations at the top, you are not in a position to do anything. And the teams that are always at the top of the draft are usually going to be teams who are not in a good position to take a young quarterback. Like Chicago. But there are glimmers of hope. Look at Washington. Last year, everybody thought Washington wouldn't be a good situation for a young quarterback, but looky. You get the right guy and it'll become a good situation. You get a good coach, yes. Get a good coach, get the right quarterback, and it'll become a good situation. Nobody thought Houston was a good situation for C.J. Stroud, but if you draft the right guy that you believe in and you coach him well, he'll become the right guy. It'll become a good situation. So if the Titans are sitting there in April and they believe in Cam Ward or they believe in Shedeur Sanders enough that they want to take them with the number 1 pick, you go right ahead.
I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up.